it could,
This floodway.
this could, there could be potential with this property. Could this guy just not gonna be able to navigate his way through all that? So let's spend the money
gonna
and
have
figure it
to-
all
no.
out.
Oh, there's some money changes.
How's Lynn tonight? Upright, making nourishment. He's not gonna, yes, I'm sorry, he is not gonna be here. He's out of town on business and it doesn't have the ability to zoom in.
Basically preliminary task. Thank you.
Hi, Linda. I didn't know we had those.
They're hiding.
They were.
I don't know if that will help them too.
It's okay from where I'm sitting. Maybe it's because you're so close to the window.
Yeah.
Your angle's different.
Hi.
Hi, how are you tonight? Good.
Ryan, when's your next trip?
Next weekend.
Next weekend.
It's just a day trip to
A day trip.
Tulip Festival.
I've never been to French Lick.
You've never been to French Lick?
Is that what you said?
No, Tulip Festival.
Oh,
Okay, well, it's
I'm like, they
opposite
might have
direction.
tulips down
Never
there.
been to the tulip.
Frick.
Never been to that either.
you need to get out more.
We're gonna try it again while I'm disturbed.
All right, I've got 5:30. We're going to call the meeting Plymouth Redevelopment Commission to order. First item of business, Pledge of Allegiance, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lynn, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Miley.
Here.
Ball.
Here.
Apple. Here. Renty.
Here.
Gray. Kupka. Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. So Brian emailed Craig and I this afternoon, this morning, that he was out of town on a business trip and unavailable. Didn't have access to Zoom, and so he won't be here tonight, obviously. First item, approval of the minutes of our March 18th, 2025 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, corrections, additions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next item of business, Jeff.
Actually, next is the 2024 TIF Management Report presentation.
You going to introduce him?
Kyle from Baker Tilly is online, and I think he's going to share
Hi, Kyle.
his screen and give the presentation.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. First of all, thanks for having me today to give this presentation, and thanks to Lynn for really helping prepare this. I couldn't have done it without her and all her diligent work. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So, my name is Kyle Carlson with Baker Tilly. We're closely with Heidi Amswell. You should hopefully remember us coming last summer to give a a TIF annual report on kind of the future of the TIF areas and summary of the bonds. This report is your April 15th TIF management report, and it reports on historical data, so in this, or prior year data, so this, in this case, 2024 revenues and expenditures. If I jump, and you know, as I'm going through this, if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to flag me and interrupt in the middle. So this slide here on slide 2 and on the screen is the RDC reporting requirements for the year. This is really one of the first big reporting requirement for the Redevelopment Commission. And it states, you know, by April 15th of each year, the RDC is required to report its prior calendar activities for the prior calendar year to the council, which this presentation was presented at the council meeting last night, and then also provided to the mayor, and then submitted online on the DLGF Gateway site. And so those steps have already occurred, and it's kind of coming to you guys last just because of the way the dates worked. But there's also other reporting requirements. So for June 15th, the Redevelopment Commission, you guys will determine if you want to pass through assessed value to overlapping taxing units of any of your areas. You may remember that you guys are currently doing this in TIF 1. In 2024, you passed through $20 million of assessed value, and then in 2025, passed through $18 million of assessed value. That determination will happen again on June 15th, so we'll be reaching out to you guys about that. We assist the county auditor's office with TIF neutralizations around July-August timeframe every year. That's, you know, as the AVs are ruled for each year, your base assessed value for each TIF area is adjusted for trending so that it truly just captures the real growth or construction in each one of your areas. So we help the auditor's office with that. And then it seems like they're always creating new reporting requirements for you guys. Beginning last year, there was an RDC spending plan that was submitted before December 1st, and we will continue to work with you guys and Lynn on that. And then what I was referencing in the beginning was this RDC annual presentation to the taxing units. I think we did that maybe last summer, and we'll definitely work to get that meeting date scheduled, and I'll make sure to come in person for that presentation. But that is a presentation looking forward for your TIF areas, and you may remember we did the TIF annual report as well. That was much more thorough for the first time last year, and so we'll be doing that again. So those are all the reporting requirements, and this is the first one. So just as a refresher for TIF, you'll see in the box at the bottom here on slide 3, this base assessed value in gray, that's the assessed value at the time that the TIF area was created. That assessed value continues to be passed through to the overlapping taxing unit throughout the life of the TIF. It's adjusted once every year for trending in that base neutralization process that I was talking about. But the incremental assessed value in the teal triangle, that's any increase from the time that the TIF was created due to real growth. That incremental value times the tax rate is how you guys are capturing your TIF dollars in each area, and that has been used, you know, for bond payments and or to fund projects and are serving benefiting your economic development areas, and those projects are always in your economic development plan. Once your TIF areas expire, which we'll get to a summary of all of your areas, that assessed value, that incremental AV will be passed through the overlapping units. So it's really just delaying, TIF is delaying that assessed value coming on. And when that assessed value comes on, assessed value goes up, tax rates operate inversely, so you would expect your tax rate to decrease at that time. This next slide on slide 4 is really just kind of a brief summary of the purpose of TIF and what it can be used on, but you can use, you know, you can be pretty flexible on how you're able to spend those TIF monies for projects and whatnot. On slide 5, this is, you know, most of you guys now, this is the RDC members for 2024, or it should be, and it just has a note at the bottom that the non-voting school board member was replaced in the middle of the year for their 2-year term, and that the RDC has no employees, so just kind of an informative slide. Slide 6 is a summary of all of your allocation areas. In the left column, that's the official name of each area, but then you can see in the third column the TIF area nickname. That's kind of the numbering system for each one of your TIF areas, so however you want to refer to them. But you can see the establishment date for each area and then the expiration date for each area. Looks like the first area that's going to be expiring is TIF 2 in 2031. Yeah, so that's something to note. And then you'll also see most of these are in the original area, but there had been some expansions to TIF 2 or the East Jefferson and Central Business a few different times, and you can see those on here as well. Those are the only true expansions to your areas, but there has been several amendments over time to add projects into your economic development plan so that you're able to spend your monies on those projects. On slide 7, this is a slide on the finances. The top here you can see the total revenues and expenditures by TIF area. One thing to note for TIF 2 or the East Jefferson Central Business area is you may remember the Water Street 2024 bonds were issued last year and to pay for the townhomes that are going to be built across the street there. So we're including the bond proceeds of just over $1 million, as you can see in footnote 1, in the revenues up here. So that's kind of why that's inflated. You may think that, we haven't received $1.4 million in the past. Well, it's because we're including the bond proceeds to fund those some of that infrastructure for those townhomes. And then we're also including the cost of issuance that's being paid out of those bond proceeds of $113,000 in these expenditures. So those are kind of artificially inflated for those reasons. We wanted to point that out. We're accounting for the interest earnings on some of the money that's held by the trustee banks for you guys and for Lynn included in these revenue amounts. So I wanted to point that out as well. And then in the second section here, that's the Redevelopment Commission expenditures by category and subcategory. So you can see a breakdown of professional services and then principal and interest on bonds, which you guys have a significant principal and interest going to various bonds or various developers. And half of that or some of that is connected to those developer purchase bonds where really they're paying their property taxes and then they're getting them back via bond payments semi-annually. And so that's why those numbers are high. And then you may notice the capital outlays infrastructure amount of $935,000. Looks like $901,000 of that was for the Pioneer Drive project. So I wanted to point that big project out as far as 24 activity. You guys certainly have a lot going on. So this is a fund balance slide that talks about each one of your TIF allocation funds, gives you the balance at the end of the year. There's also funds listed on here that are held by the trustee banks for the various bonds that you guys have outstanding. They're kind of holding funds, making payments on those bonds, and when Lynn transfers them TIF money, but it's really your guys' money. It's just held at the trustee bank, so that's why we're reporting on those funds as well. And this goes on slide 9 as well. So these balances are on slide 8 and 9. So if you have any questions on those balances, please don't hesitate to ask. On slide 10, this is all of the bonds that I was referring to, which are all covered in the report that will, which will outlay them a little bit better when we come back in the summer. But you can see TIF 2 or the East Jefferson area here has the 2012 bonds, or the 2012 bonds are payable from TIF 2 revenues, I guess I should say. And there was $131,000 paid in principal and interest in 2024. There's $442,000 outstanding, and those bonds mature in 2028. You also have the Redevelopment District 2017 bonds, or the City Hall renovation, for the City Hall renovations project. Those bonds are payable from TIF 1. There was $310,000 paid in principal and interest in 2024. There's $779,000 outstanding, and those bonds mature in 2027. Also payable from TIF 1, there's the Waterworks revenue bonds of 2015, where the Redevelopment Commission has pledged a minimum of $40,000 to a maximum of $80,000. Historically, and in 24, you guys paid $55,000 towards those bonds, kind of assisting in the payment. And then the middle 4 bonds here, which would be the 2019 Pretzels bonds, the 2020 Winona project bonds, the 2020 and the 2022 Centennial bonds. Those are kind of what I was talking about before. Those are developer purchase bonds where the developer themselves or the parcels located in that area are paying the property taxes, and the majority of that, aside from Lynn keeping some admin fees back, is being paid semi-annually back to them as their incentive via these bond payments. So one thing I do want to say is the total P&I, principal and interest outstanding, that we have listed for each one of those four, don't zero in on that too much, because that's all based on, how much taxes are coming in each year. Did they invest what they said they were going to invest? Did that property get assessed accordingly? So that amortization is always changing, and I want to point that out. Then there's two more bonds on here. So you have the 2021 bond, refunding bonds. Those refunding bonds refunded your 2018 A and B bonds that were originally used for the aquatic center. So you guys had paid $443,000 in 2024, and there's about $4.6 million left. Those bonds expire in 2035. And then the most recent bonds were the Water Street Townhome Project bonds in 2024 that I mentioned. Some of that interest was paid in 2024 of $53,000. It's payable from a combination of TIF 2 and TIF 8, or the Water Street TIF. But those townhomes obviously aren't built and assessed yet, so it's solely coming from TIF 2 at this point. Or the payments are coming from there. And those bonds expire in 2032. So I know that's a lot, but hopefully this summary is useful for you guys, just so you know what happened, or where these payments went in 2024. The last slide, 11, you're just required to report on housing TIF allocation areas and the number of homes built, but you guys don't have a housing TIF allocation area, so that's kind of an NA section. And then we just made some notes in this box about how TIF 1, 2, and 3 specifically have been amended several times to add projects into the economic development plan, and we didn't include those. And then the RDC historically passes through assessed value in the TIF 1 allocation area. You guys have passed through 20 million in 2024, and you guys historically passed through in that TIF area. And also the RDC captures personal property in TIF 5, the Winona area, and then TIF 7, the Pretzels area. It's just additional notes that we inputted to Gateway before Lynn submitted the report. And that's really the historical report on 2024 data. Again, my name is Kyle Carlson from Baker Tilly. I look forward to seeing you guys this summer, and then work closely with Heidi and Austin. You can see our emails and our phone numbers here. If you have any questions, after this meeting, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to myself. So if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to ask now. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Kyle? I have one, Kyle.
Okay.
Look in your crystal ball, and I asked Jeff this last night,
Yep.
but Senate Bill 1, what impact do you see potentially having on our revenues in our TIF districts?
Right. So we're going to be better able to estimate that going forward, as it's kind of the last step is for the governor to sign the bill, and so it doesn't seem, if he signs it, it doesn't seem like a lot of that's going to change. We haven't fully looked into creating analyses yet for our various clients on what those impacts would look like, just because we weren't sure where that bill would wind up. There's been several changes along the way, but there's some mechanisms that protect the TIF. For instance, so there may not be huge changes, because for instance with personal property in that bill, and you guys have personal property in a couple of your TIFs, the bill removes the 30% floor, meaning the taxpayer doesn't have to pay 30% of their investment anymore, except it keeps it in that 30% floor remains in TIF areas that are outstanding already. So for your Pretzels and Winona areas that have personal property in that TIF area already is out there, that 30% floor is going to remain. But some of the other things, like the limitation, if there's a personal property payer, in the city's tax base or in the TIF tax base, I guess not really the TIF tax base, because those would have to be designated, like the ones we just talked about. So that really wouldn't affect the TIF, but they do have a $2 million limit. If there's a personal property payer in the city that has less than $2 million of investment in personal property, they don't have to pay personal property taxes anymore. But again, that doesn't affect the TIF because you guys have to designate each taxpayer. But there's definitely going to be some impacts with the extra deductions for the homestead properties and for the ag land or apartment properties that they have in that bill. That's, a lot of that's going to be driving down the assessed value, and really that tax rate is going to increase because of that assessed value going down. And so in some cases that additional tax rate could actually help the TIF if the tax rate goes up, because that's just going to be more TIF dollars. So there's definitely some more work to do on those impacts, but I just wanted to give you highlights of some of the things I've looked at over the last few days. We can definitely model some different things, and so we can work closely with Lynn and with Jeff to brainstorm, what might be helpful for you guys to see as we go forward. It's definitely going to be tricky because there's a lot of nuances in that bill, and there's a lot of things included in it. So hopefully that somewhat answers your question.
Yes.
The bill kind of protects the TIFs in a few different places, which is nice to see for you guys at least. So.
Great, thanks. That's pretty much what Jeff told me last night, so.
I'm glad I got it right.
Jeff's done his homework. Thank you, Jeff, I appreciate it. Thanks, Kyle. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, thanks a lot, Kyle. See you in June, maybe?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Great.
All right, so moving along the agenda, TIFs 1 and 2, I do not have any update. But TIF 3, it's not on the agenda, but I do have an update for you. Last night, the City Council approved the resolution confirming the Plan Commission order finding that the proposed amendment to TIF 3 complies with the comprehensive plan, and so we can move forward to the next step in amending that TIF plan to allow for the contribution to the Lifelong Learning Network Career Innovation Center. The next step is for you to hold a public hearing and approve the final declaratory resolution for that amendment. Obviously, since we only had a day between the council meeting last night and today, we didn't have time to advertise it for this meeting, so that will be on your May agenda. It's already been submitted to the Pilot News for advertising, and so we will have a public hearing on that amendment on May 6th? What is 20th? No, it's, I don't know. Anyhow, your May meeting.
And I'd like to thank the council for their actions last night in support of that resolution. Had good discussion, I thought, at the meeting, and just want to thank them for their support.
They asked some good questions, and we had some good people here to answer questions as best they could. So yeah, it was a good discussion. That process will move forward. Okay, TIFs 4 and 5, I do not have any update. In fact, TIF 6, I really don't have an update. Centennial Crossing is still working on the dedication of all of the utilities and infrastructure.
They're going to have to be repaved before that.
I still have not, well, that's part of the issue with one of their other properties that they're looking to dedicate is it's been a while, and we want to make sure it meets all of the city standards before we'll accept it. Some of the items were installed not in the right-of-way, so there need to be some easements. Working through the process. I don't envy Dan. Dan's been doing most of the work on reviewing that and making sure that they're in compliance, and he's pretty diligent, so we're going to hold him to the fire.
One thing on Linda, do you hear anything about their tax situation on that particular project? Okay.
No update on TIF 7. TIF 8, the Water Street Townhome Project, moving right along. The exterior is going up fast, although so is the interior that feels like it takes longer. So at least we have something to look at right now. Kevin, do you want to add anything to?
No, you can see the windows going in. We're going to have it buttoned in pretty quick. Then it kind of slows down because all the finishes take longer. But we're actually already doing some infrastructure stuff with plumbing going in. Tubs and showers are in place, so getting there.
And Kevin did confirm for me right now the timeline is still to be open by the end of the year. So late November into December, sometime in that time frame is when we're expecting to have townhouses ready for people to move into.
Can I ask you a question?
Have you confirmed on a retail person for your retail end right here? Have you confirmed for a business to go in there yet? Or have you-
No, not at this
You
point.
haven't found anybody, okay. And is it one retail spaces or two?
It's one real retail space at this point.
The whole length of it?
One big
Okay.
space.
Good.
I do know we have a lot of inquiries regularly looking for retail space downtown, so
Yes, we
I would
do.
expect that
The right one.
that will be filled before it's ready to open. Yeah, that's all the updates I have for the TIF areas, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
Okay.
Nice job. Greg? First of all, I want to thank you for your help with the resolution last night also. You had good information on
You're
on
welcome.
employment statistics.
My
and things.
pleasure. It's
Yeah,
a
thanks.
worthwhile project. Senior report, and then, this is my discussion.
Nice special.
I got one last. And did you? No? Yes? I'll take one. Yes? Okay. There we go. I'll just give you a quick update on what we've done the past year. You'll see in there the numbers there. We had $50 million in CapEx expenditures throughout the county last year. That's kind of an off number for us. A lot had to do with the interest rates, of course, as projects, the funding of them. But we did bring in an additional $9 million in payroll. We've moved away from reporting for jobs because we do have a good number of unfilled jobs in the county. What we're looking at is we want to encourage higher pay, and that's kind of our standard for whether we induce somebody to come here, whether they get incentives or not, is what is their average pay. And you'll see in there our average pay currently in the county is at $24 an hour. So they've got to be at that level before we.
Is that with benefits or is that?
That's hourly pay,
straight?
yeah. Unfortunately, that's still below, it's slightly below the state and below the national, so we want to push that up, and that's why we only incentivize those. And it's that payroll, that number, that really drives things. As far as Kyle took a little bit of my thunder there. I was going to give you an update on what was going on downstate. As far as the big thing was the business personal property tax. They had looked at eliminating that altogether, and that was a big concern of ours. While it would be attractive superficially to people coming in, Indiana has always been a low tax state anyway. And when we have people come in and say, I don't have to pay this personal property tax in Wisconsin and Illinois and things, we say, but if you look at the taxes overall, that's just a small part, and our taxes overall are still lower than Illinois and Wisconsin. So even though we tax you on that particular part, your tax bill overall is lower. So they usually get it pretty quick. What we were afraid of is that would hurt the local, if they get away with it. Such things as TIF districts and just finances in general. So that revenue has to come from somewhere, and so we were all for it. What they did, I don't know if you understood exactly what he was saying there, that typically with business personal property tax, you can only, the word was right there, take that down to 30% of value, depreciate. You can only depreciate equipment down to 30% of its value for tax purposes. And anything that's installed from this year going forward will be able to be depreciated all the way to zero. Also, typically, the first $80,000 of your business personal property tax is exempt from taxes. That's an acquisition fee, they consider that, and they up that to $2 million. So some of those tax abatements that we have will now be moot. So, for instance, that last one we did for All Points was under that threshold. So those will change. Couple of projects we had going on in the city.
I spoke with the crew that was over at the old Indiana Heat Transfer facility a week or two ago. As you know, that has been an IDEM violation in that building, and Cummings inherited that building, and it took quite a while for them to actually take control of the building. It's a long, convoluted story. The property was around the building has always been Cummings, but the building itself was actually deeded to Indiana Heat Transfer. And so there was a court battle and some wrangling about who actually had control of the building. It was settled. They took asbestos out of there like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that crew said that IDEM will be in there shortly to give them, they have to pass an IDEM test to tear it down. So hopefully that building will be coming down yet this year.
There's still some groundwater testing that will need to be done, isn't that correct?
Once we get it down to a slab, we'll do some drilling for that.
And that could take a while.
Unfortunately. There's another building that we're looking at in the area. It's been vacant for a while now. It's the Lydell Basil building. It's on the corner of Pidco and Flora, in that neighborhood anyway. They used to make gel coat in there for fiberglass, and there's some issues. So we're working with the owner there. Hopefully we can get that remediated soon and get somebody in there. We've actually had a couple of real attractive prospects, and then when a phase 2 comes in like that, they're looking at someplace else. As you know, the townhomes, we were just talking about those. The MCCIC, the Career Innovation Center, we talked about that last night. It's coming along really well. The renovation part of it is just about sealed up. It'll be ready for classes, no doubt, in the fall. And in the automotive, that's the new structure that they're building onto the old service center, is supposed to be ready by August. We're excited about that. Divert is out at the corner of Pioneer and Jim New, I believe, is that. And that was a spec building that we put up a half dozen years ago or so. Divert does exactly what their name implies. They divert organic material from landfills. They have plants all across North America that doing that or something similar to it. They're a real environmental company. In that building right now, they're taking organic waste from grocery stores. They collect it at the distribution level. Like for instance, Kroger, the local Kroger store gets a bin as produce and other organic material goes out of date. The first thing they do is they try to find a local food bank or something that will take the food. That's their job one, is they want to make sure it gets used. But if it's beyond that, they throw it in this bin. The distributor collects all these bins. Those are shipped here to Plymouth, and then those are go through a process where they separate out the packaging from the organic waste, and it's not done by hand. It's machine, separates it out. The packaging, unfortunately, does go to landfill, but 60% of the stuff that comes in goes into a slurry, and then that slurry goes into a digester, and it creates a natural gas. They are not high enough in their production right now that warrants a digester locally. That's the ultimate goal, is that they would put a digester out in Plymouth. But for right now, you'll see the tanker trucks rolling out of there with...
There seems to be more activity as I've driven.
There is a lot more activity out there.
There had been in the past.
And they have a new plant manager out there, and that's why we kind of wanted to update everybody on where that's... They've been at it a couple years now, and just let you know what's going on out there. Right across the road there, Pioneer, is SDC. That building, you'll see the steel is almost closed in. It's up, going on. SDC is a die-cast company from Missouri. Digger Specialties out of Bremen, Lauren Graber. He purchased that company. They provide him with some parts for the fencing, and he purchased that company and is relocating it to Plymouth here. So we're excited about that. Hopefully that'll be annexed into the city shortly. One of the areas that we're focusing on this year is available ground for development. We have some areas that are already zoned industry, but they don't have city utilities and that makes it a tough way to develop. So I've secured a grant for the town of Plymouth, or I guess city. You guys don't have a complex. Okay, the city of Plymouth, and we will have an engineering study done out on the southwest corner of the city to run utilities out there to make those that area that's already zoned industry more attractive. We're excited about getting that started. Had a frank conversation with NIPSCO about pretty much the same thing. They are coming in, talk about some areas that we have that are served by NIPSCO and see if we can't market those more aggressively and get some better exposure for those developers also. I think the only thing, the last thing I wanted to mention was, and you guys don't get tired of me saying it, is the Bardwell Swimming Aquatic Center. You will hear the Marshall County Economic Development Corporation's name used in conjunction with that. We helped it get established. We do have a couple subsidiary not-for-profits that were established through Marshall County Economic Development. Those are pass-through corporations only. We do a couple wire transfers a year. None of the money that you invest in Marshall County Economic Development Corporation has been used on that aquatic center. There was some shorthand used in the memo that described the situation, and then unfortunately saying a subsidiary under MCDC, they just used a shorthand MCDC, and it looked like MCDC was floating a bill on it there, and I about lost my lunch because it looked like we were paying a lot and we're not. And I know it would put a lot of our funding at jeopardy. So I wanted to assure you that your $30,000 that you invest in us, none of that went to the aquatic center. Your financing, your investment includes a $10,000 pass-through that goes to the US 30 coalition. As a government entity, it's really difficult to join a coalition like that. So what you do is it is invested in MCDC, and then we turn around and invest in the coalition. The final Propel study is finished and ready to be distributed, and as soon as the legislature is done, it will be distributed. They, for some reason, don't want to distribute it while everybody's gathered in Indy. So we're waiting to see what that has. We're concerned, the biggest concern in Marshall County is the Oak Road, the railroad, and Pioneer. For whatever reason, they want to evaluate each one of those as individual connections or conflicts. And we have consistently told them that that area needs to be evaluated as a whole. There's no way you're going to go over that railroad, which they don't want any railroads at grade crossings anymore, as you'll see on 31 they built, and then deal with Oak Road right there. You know, I mean, there's no place to put an intersection there at Oak Road. So what we have been lobbying for is to put either improve the intersection at Pioneer, and then you put access roads or frontage roads all the way over to Oak, or to even put there is an easement west of Pioneer that could eventually tap into if Veterans extension was ever made, it could come around there and tie in. Something like that would be, as long as there's access roads. That's the tough part about the US 31 and 30. The easiest thing to do would be to just cul-de-sac all those roads and put intersections in. That would really hurt our economic development and opportunities for access to the road. So it's a negotiation that we're in within DOT as far as finding enough access that we're still a viable community, but yet making it safe enough that people can get down 30 and 31. We're leaps and bounds ahead of Warsaw. That's that's the issue, and the coalition wants the entire length of 30 dealt with instead of piecemealing. So it's going to be a while yet. So
Anybody have any questions for Greg?
Thank you.
I appreciate your investment, and it really does help, and we look forward to working with you. in the
Thanks
future.
for all you do, Greg. We appreciate you.
I apologize, I do have one other update that I forgot to mention. So if you recall, last fall, you approved the amendment to TIF 3 to pay for the Enfocus contract.
Yes.
And I just wanted to update you, we have been meeting with Enfocus every week since we started that, and Mike has been able to join us for a lot of those meetings. We've kind of divided the focus into quarters, and we finished quarter one. They are preparing a presentation to show the progress and the achievements through quarter one. We saw a draft of that last week. It is getting the final touches. I just wanted to let you know that we'll have the report coming soon. We continue to work with them. They've been invaluable in the planning and the projects that we're working on. And really looking at that draft, it's kind of amazing what all we've done just in the 3 months of quarter one. It's hard to just sit there and think of it, but when you see it all put in the report, it's really pretty impressive. So there will be more updates coming, more details on that. I just want to let you know that we're continuing to work with Enfocus and getting a lot of things moving.
I got to compliment Jeff and the mayor. They do a terrific job keeping everybody on track and accountable for what you've set out for goals.
You need to include Ty Adley.
Ty
also,
also,
because
yeah.
Ty has been
Yes.
part of that team
Yes.
as well. And
He's not here, I don't need to talk about it.
well, he deserves a
You're
lot of
right, you're
credit
absolutely right.
for the
Ty's done a
organization
terrific job,
and tracking on that.
Yep. But it was a good move to add them to the team, I think. So, okay. Under other business, we've got a couple of groups here that would like to speak, and I know the Reese is here and ask if they could just make some comments. Who's gonna? All of you?
I will.
Okay. Come on up. Come on up. Jim, you want to state your name for the record, just so that
Absolutely.
everyone's got it in the minutes.
Jim Hartung, the Reese Theater. Thanks, guys, for letting me talk a little bit.
You bet.
Really, what I want to do is I give you a little bit of a report card of what you guys were actually able to do for us 8 years ago, when you gifted us with the start of how we were able to get the Reese back up and running. So I want to share with you our mission statement. The Reese Theater is dedicated to fostering community connection and cultural enrichment by serving as the cornerstone of Plymouth's revitalized arts district. Through its commitment to preserving the historical significance of Plot Number 1, the Reese Theater provides a vibrant space for artistic expression, education, celebration, and contributing to the ongoing revitalization of downtown Plymouth and enhancing the city's cultural identity. Now, I don't know that everybody knows the history behind the Reese. The Reese actually started out in the 1940, and it was a movie theater for that long, since 1940. And then in 2009, the doors were shut. It was really run down, and it was in a bad way. There was a group of junior high students that gave a presentation at the Wild Rose Moon that really inspired Don Pontius and Randy Danielson, and they brought together a whole bunch of people, and they called them the Dirty Dozen. And those people were able to bring this group together, and in October of 2022, we were actually able to open up, and our own Denver Bierman that night was on the stage, and it was amazing. We had the street blocked off, we had music in the street, we had dinner. It was just a fun time. So since then, the Reese has become basically the hub for artistic, educational, cultural events. We've had so many concerts, lots of concerts, political meetings, private celebrations, Chamber of Commerce, school events, business dinners, holiday parties, reunions, weddings, and quite a few celebrations of life even happen to be in the Reese. So The cool part about it is this is all part of what the major function of the revitalization program and all the projects that you guys have done to revitalize the space. And your seed money was what started it all. I mean, between the vision and that seed money is what it got us going where we need to be. So one of the things I want to talk about is as we move forward, we have a lot of different ideas, and we have a lot of building that we want to do, and we have a lot of things that have to happen to make these visions continue to grow and make this still be a viable part of the city. I'm requesting that at a certain time, a different time, that we actually get on your agenda. I just wanted to give you a little bit of report of what we're doing. The REIS intends to be a sustainable and viable anchor to the heart of downtown for future generations. As we now move past the renovation stage, which is completed, and with a tremendous space, we now ask the city to participate in our shared and continued success in sustainability efforts as we move to the next phase. And I'm going to actually get on your agenda as soon as I possibly can, so we can give you a full presentation. But I just want to get you on the radar and know that we have a lot of plans, we have a lot of things that we need help with, and we need your help to do that. There's just no other way than this, without the city's help, because we have to be able to sustain, but there's a lot of things that we need to update and continue to grow. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Look forward to your presentation.
Do you, if anybody have any questions?
I got a call from Randy Danielson last week about meeting with them, and they weren't asking for anything at the time, but they were just giving me an update where they were at, what their plans are going forward, and meeting with the In-Focus group. There's a lot coming up the pike, down the pike in the city, and I thought it's a good idea to update the redevelopment or make you aware of these things that are hanging out there, so we can kind of prioritize also. You know, we've only got so many dollars we can work with, and where do we need to spend them? But if we, we get one project, yeah, let's fund that. All of a sudden, there's another project comes along that's really grips the community in the city, and we don't have any money because we spent it over here. But if we've got a heads up on what's coming up in the future, it'll really help us manage our resources. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, you guys. Also tonight, we got Lewis from the Plymouth building. As you may or may not know, it's been sold. Lewis is one of the principals, I believe.
That's correct.
And he just wants to give us, I've seen him a couple times at council meetings, an update on what they're kind of looking at doing at the Plymouth
Well, I
building.
appreciate that. I do want to hand out a couple of these. This is a rough draft here.
Thank you.
Want to label it that. This is our idea that we are working with. I want to discuss with you guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time here. So yeah, I'm Louis Heiza. I represent the 310 North Michigan Street LLC, owns the building at the north end of the strip. We are gearing up for phase 2, as we're calling it, which phase 1 was acquiring the building 3 years ago, stabilizing it. We took it over. It was 40% occupied and was running on a boiler that was, according to a gentleman, the only guy we could find who knew anything about this boiler was 70 years old. And that's just the beginning of issues with infrastructure in that building. It actually kicked the bucket 12 months ago, spurred us into some quick action on installing heat throughout the building that was completely reliant on this boiler that, as you can imagine, is pretty significant infrastructure. We're talking 5 stories, running piping through. We have faced a lot more than we expected, is the bottom line. And we are currently working with building commissioner, Mr. Mayor, regarding the facade on the third and fourth floors. So it's the yellow brick if you're looking at the building. It's got issues. It's ready to come down. We're going to take it down quickly, safely, carefully, probably starting in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. That's going to be the start of it. We're going to rebuild it, the facade. We would like input, obviously, from anyone who would like to give input on that rebuild. I actually came from the roof to this meeting. I still have rubble on my pants. I'm actually not kidding. we have a lot of options on how we can rebuild that, and we'd love your guys' input, because this is an important building.
Where can folks get input to you if they have suggestions?
Absolutely.
City office, or is that a good place?
Yes, sir, yeah, absolutely, and I believe I included contact information on
Okay.
this. But yes, I'll be reaching out individually and to discuss any questions you guys have. Bottom line is, this is an important building. It's the north anchor of this entire strip. And we feel that now that we've gotten the building stabilized, we are at 100% residential occupancy. We are at 55% commercial occupancy, which is all office at this time, office occupants. We feel there's an opportunity, now that we have it stabilized, to invest a second round of money, both of ours, and we are obviously here today to discuss a public-private partnership and access grants such as the facade grant, which is something we're applying for this week regarding that facade. Phase 2 involves turning this first and second floor into retail, a heavy retail focus. We want to create foot traffic. We want to create we're calling it an incubator-style retail indoor shopping corridor, where we are helping small businesses get off the ground by providing turnkey retail space, utilities, internet included. We will help them with their marketing through website, through social media advertising. We've got a whole business plan on how we're going to help young businesses, small businesses want to get off the ground, get into our space at reasonable cost, create a vibrant first couple of floors where people are in and out all day. Besides Treat Squire Shop, who's walking that far up North Michigan Street? And if we can create a situation where people are in and out there, you've just stretched this corridor by another block and a half. We want to bring short-term rental to the third floor through a combination of Airbnb, VRBO, traveling nurses. There's a handful of different ways we go about that. We want people living upstairs, coming downstairs to shop, and it's going to take a partnership. As you guys can imagine, a building like this, it's got a cap, an economic cap on how much money you can put into it. And that's just based on, frankly, square footage and price per square foot in terms of residential rents and in terms of retail rents. We have invested, coming up on $1 million ourselves, both equity and debt, which, personal guaranteeing that debt, so it might not be my money, but sure feels like it. My wife doesn't know how to distinguish the two. And we're prepared to do another round as well. And so our presentation to you, which I'd love to get on a formal agenda in the future to present to you what the plan is and what we would be looking to receive help from the city on and what the final product looks like. This is an ongoing thing. We're starting with the facade, like I've mentioned. We want to get that kicked off in a couple weeks. And then we work through a couple other safety concerns that we want to go through. Fire safety, for example. We'd like to replace the elevator. And then we can work into more aesthetic things and work into a plan to convert this interior into a much brighter, well laid out space where we can drive foot traffic. And we think the building's set for it. It's got the history to have an impact such as this, and we're ready to commit. So thank you for your time. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll look to...
Have you met Greg for EDC? Well, if you're talking about job creation, right? Isn't this something you guys should be talking about? And
I have not met Greg, and I'm happy
okay,
to
well, there's your new best friend. But the other thing is in job creation on that, if you're talking about small businesses, if you're making it affordable, like what you're talking about, small incubation centers, you're also allowing someone with not so much overhead to be able to hire someone. So you may say, I'm creating 10 small retail spaces, but now you're creating 20 jobs.
Absolutely.
Because with low overhead, as quite a few of us know in business, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, did I pay the light bill? Oh my gosh, did I unload the truck, da 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 da. Because you're worried about all that overhead. So if you can help us create that incubation center, and actually I've had history in this in my past, where you can, even do short term where you were allowed 3 years to stay here, and then a new company is allowed to come in and keep turning fresh, new business ideas in.
That would be the
huge.
idea. That would be the
Yeah.
idea, is that we structure the retail leases in such a way that we're here to get you off your feet. And
That's awesome.
once you have gotten to the stage where you've got a decent revenue and profit and loss statement, frankly, we'd like to bring someone else in and give them a shot. On top of that, to your point on low overhead, this wouldn't just be, as I mentioned, turnkey, right? So we'll provide utilities, internet, you just show up and set up shop. By creating this space, and this is the same economics as why, Four Corner will have 4 different gas stations, it's the place to go to get gas. Not only are they not competing, they're bringing more people into their corner to get gas. Same concept. We're going to create a situation where people are going to be walking through this building, and your new little shop is going to get more eyeballs than it would have if you set up elsewhere or if you were just at marketing online. So the goal is to provide a situation where we can allow young businesses to get started with low overhead, hire people, become successful enough to hopefully fly the coop, as we would say, and maybe find a bigger space, and continue that cycle and allow different businesses to try out their ideas and their hobbies and their passions and see if they can bring it to business reality.
I think
Thank
that would
you.
be huge for Christmas, holiday, fourth quarter, shopping, downtown.
We would incorporate a lot of that. We would work with the city on events that you guys host downtown, be a part of it. We picture holiday-themed walkthroughs and where we can bring potentially live music into some of the space and like I keep saying, we want to anchor the north end of this corridor. And we think that, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the biggest building on this corridor, at least potentially height-wise, not sure about square footage. And with new facade, new paint, bunch of new windows, architectural lighting, signage, a hotel-style canopy, we're talking about a building here that we would expect a lot of foot traffic on a day-to-day basis. And that's our goal, that's our plan, and we're very excited to present it.
Okay,
Very exciting.
great. Louis, the boiler issue you were talking about, do you know what kind of boiler? Was it a high-pressure boiler, steam boiler, or just a hot water boiler?
Hot water,
Okay.
yes. It is obsolete at this point.
Yeah.
It's been
No,
abandoned.
I was going to come at it from a different
It's also completely
angle,
wrapped
but-
in asbestos and.
Yeah, I was going to come at it from a different, no, that's not what I was getting at.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay, great, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing from you again.
Appreciate you guys' time.
Appreciate the update. very
Thank you.
much. Anybody else have anything to say? Okay, next item, acceptance of, we got approval of redevelopment invoices. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on the invoices? Hearing none, all in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, motion is carried. Next is acceptance of communication. We have a motion to approve.
Motion.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. And the Old National certificates, that's just a, is there anything you want to talk about with that?
That's an annual
Yes.
certification that we sign. Actually, I think it's redevelopment authority that's supposed to be signing that, but since they don't meet, you have to sign it.
Okay. All right. Do we need approval to sign that? You think so? Okay. Okay. So that's our last item. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
That's the one I'm looking for.